Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another video and to sort of a more unique video, sort of. With 2021 coming to an end, I thought it would be interesting to look back on this year's Cars mainline. Now, I've done two different My Thoughts videos on the entire 2021 Cars mainline. I did one for the first half of the year checklist poster and then I did one for the full year poster. Um, and now that the year is over and all of these cars have been released, I thought it'd be interesting to sort of go through the releases this year one by one and just go over my overall thoughts. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, I don't know if this is a hot take, okay, but I feel like 2021 for me personally was one of the most mixed years for the Cars Diecast line. What we got outside of the main line was great, like the NASCAR series, incredible, one of the best expanded universe lines ever, if not the best. Yes, I'm saying that. It might very well be the best. The mini racers this year were better than ever. Welcome to Radiator Springs was pretty hit or miss. The endurance racers were okay. I'm not really a fan of them in the first place. But in 2021 mainline, I feel like it was one of the most mixed bags we've ever had for a mainline. This year brought some changes. They dropped the series style that they'd been going for since 2013, where the cars are divided up into series. When I first saw this, I was pretty excited because it meant that they could now release basically whatever they wanted. But I feel like even though the series labels were gone, everything still felt like it could fit into a series. I thought, oh, cool, the series are gone. Now, they have free range. They can do whatever. They don't have to be limited. This year's releases, to me, still felt very, very limited. And there was a lot of repetition. Um, Especially with the racing tractors and the racing legends who, when they were first coming out, they were so cool. But then I feel like they just kind of oversaturated the market with them. There were so many this year of the legends and of the racing tractors that it honestly made me not all that excited for them anymore. My other biggest problem with 2021, actually, I have two other biggest problems. Um, there were barely any new releases that weren't from Cars 3, which is really disappointing to see. It was just really upsetting. Only two new releases in the main line were from the first Cars, the rest were from Cars 3. Although there were some new holiday cars, which is another interesting thing they did this year. It was just annoying to see that now, even 4 years after Cars 3 came out, almost everything was still from Cars 3, even more so than the past few years. Like 2020, we had Josh Coolant, we had a good few new releases from Cars 1 and Cars 2 in 2018, 2019, and 2020. This year we had no new releases from Cars 2 and only two from the first movie. Originally, I had this whole big video plan just discussing all of my problems with the 2021 diecast line. I was going to call it 2021, the good, the bad, and the hot rod Steve Hearsell. And it went from being this big structured video to being a discussion, and now I've turned it into a My Thoughts episode. Um, I don't just want to be ranting this whole time, because I really did like this year's releases. So I just thought doing it in a more casual style where I could just say how I really felt would be best. So we're just gonna go through these one by one. Jackson Storm is Jackson Storm. Rusty's McQueen. It's Rusty's McQueen. Brian Spark was a very solid re-release. A lot of people were very excited about him. I got Brian back in 2018 in his launcher release, but it was really nice to see a lot of people very happy that he finally got re-released as a single. Murray Clutchburn, I think this was his first time made in Thailand. I don't really have an opinion on him. He's pretty nice. Jimmy Cable's another one being released as a single for the first time. People were very excited about him. He became a bit of a peg warmer in my area, I feel. And the annoying thing with Jimmy is they still didn't fix his color. It would have been really nice if they made him the correct pink, but unfortunately they did not. Kabuto, it was nice to see them go back to a lot of the more traditional re-releases from Cars 2 that we haven't had over the past few years. You know, this year we got several World Grand Prix fans and several Tokyo cars, which is nice because those are two things that we usually always get that we barely got this year. or sorry, not this year, that we barely got in 2018, 2019, 2020. We barely got anything like that. So it was nice to see some of those. Although some more interesting re-releases, especially with the World Grand Prix fans, would have been nice. But there was something so surreal about seeing Kabuto on store shelves in 2021. Suki, I don't know how people feel about Suki. I feel like she's basically a peg warmer, right? But I actually didn't have Suki until this year, so yeah, she was nice to pick up. Harumi, I really like Harumi. Definitely prefer her to Suki, I think. But again, just pretty standard re-release. Although it's been several years since we've seen any of them, so yeah. Bob Pulley was a surprising re-release, and I wish we had more like him. Originally coming from the 2016 Cruise in Tokyo series, I think it would have been nice if we had, again, more unique re-releases like him. But I think he stands out as a pretty solid Cars 2 re-release. Hot Rod Junior Moon was nice too. Here was one of the best things about 2021's new releases, in my opinion. At the end of 2019, for those of you who don't know, a lot of cars got canceled. Two whole waves of cars were canceled. And this year did an exceptional job at re-releasing a ton of them. Now, in 2019, Hot Rod Junior Moon and Hot Rod Smokey were released, and the other Hot Rod cars were canceled. But this year, we got all of them. Let me just scroll over here. Not only re-releases of Hot Rod Jr. and Smokey, but finally the long-awaited re-releases of Hot Rod River Scott and Hot Rod Luis Nash, and it was just so nice to finally complete the set after just having poor, lonely Hot Rod Jr. sitting all alone on my shelf for 2 years. Maddie McGear, honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of Maddie McGear. Every single year, they release Maddie McGear, and I have no idea why. Does she sell that well? I have no clue. Then again, I don't think I really see her on shelves all that often, so I guess she does. But she's already back for 2022 in a 2-pack with Melissa Bernabreak again. Look, okay, Maddie McGear has been released more times than Lizzie has in the past 5 years, and yeah, I think we should give Maddie McGear a break. I don't know why she's become an annual release. Same with Pat Traxon. Following the release of Cars 3, they gained like an obsession with releasing the flag wavers and pace cars. Charlie Checker keeps being re-released, as does Pat Traxon. So much like Maddie, I feel like Pat Traxon is a very interesting car to constantly re-release. Then we have Track Damage Cruise, and you guys can kind of already see what I'm saying just from the order this poster is in. Despite the fact that the series have been abandoned, you can easily see each group of cars on this poster fitting into a pre-existing series. It started off with cars that would have been in like the Copper Canyon series from 2020. Then we went into cars that would have been in Cruise in Tokyo. Then we went into Ramon's House of Body Art, and now we're in like the Florida 500 section. Track Damage Cruise is actually a pretty nice Cruise variant. If you know me, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Cruise, but Track Damage Cruise was a really nice one that I'm really glad we got. You can barely see the track damage on her from this side, although she does have some tire marks. But yeah, nice alternative to Rusty's Cruise. Then we have Daryl Cartrip. It was so nice to see Daryl back this year. For whatever reason, it's been too long since Daryl got re-released. He had not been out since 2017 before Cars 3 came out. So it was just really nice to see him come back. It was like seeing the tuners for the first time again in 2020. It was like, where have you been? Where have you been? You're too important to be skipped over for so many years. Pick Remember Fillmore was interestingly labeled as a Cars 3 release this year. I believe he was actually different. I considered picking him up at one point to make into a custom for Ty's Cars 4, but I did not. But I do want to say I think he has like the details of the updated Thailand Fillmore. Like he has like the slightly bigger eyes and more vibrant colors, I think. Bob Cutlass is his Cars 3 variant, which is nice. I wonder if we'll see Cars 1 Bob Cutlass again anytime soon. I don't really have a preference. I know some people didn't like this guy when he first came out. I don't know what people's opinions on him are now. But Yeah, it's Cars Free Bob Cutlass, so good to see him again, especially alongside Daryl. Then we move on to the racing tractors. Please excuse my computer's low battery warning. That just popped up. That's the thing with the My Thoughts episodes. Um, I try to do them, like unscripted and just casually give my ideas. And a lot of times when I'm recording them, I lose track of the fact that my computer's about to die, so it's plugged in again. We've got the Sputter Stop Racing Tractor next, alongside the Bumper Save Racing Tractor, the Easy Idle Racing Tractor, the Vuezine Racing Tractor. It's like what I just said earlier. There were just too many racing tractors this year, to the point where really I no longer became excited for them. And I don't even own all of them. I don't even have the Easy Idle one. They're really nice. They are really nice. Every time I reviewed one, I was very impressed, but I feel like the cool factor of them is just completely gone now. Don't get me wrong, again, I think they're all super nice looking. I'm looking at them over on my shelf right now, and they are very impressive diecasts. But, I don't know, they're all just... I don't know. To me, it was just like, oh, more? Even more seriously? Um, I feel like they just did too many. They did like, what, 5 or 6 total this year? I think that's just too many. Now, I know 2019 had several more planned that were canceled, and the ones we got in 2021 are actually different than the ones canceled back in 2019. So, who knows? Maybe uh, if all of those were released back in 2019, these wouldn't have come out this year, and who knows? Maybe if all those came out in 2019, I would feel the same way back in 2019. Like, oh, why are they doing so many of these? But when the racing tractors first came out, they were just so cool. And then they just kept doing more and more and more this year, and it just kind of killed the hype for me. But I think each individual one is very nice. Lightning McQueen as the Easter Buggy and the Easter Buggy himself. This year, they made some changes by putting a few holiday cars in the main line, which is something that will continue next year, even though this year we had like a whole Christmas Cars line release at the end of the year, like we usually do, not in the main line. But yeah, McQueen as the Easter Buggy was a car canceled back in, I believe, 2018 for a supposed second wave of the Easter cars that originally came out in 2017, and he's really nice. Like, he is a very nice McQueen variant of Hudson Hornet Piston Cup McQueen, which is awesome. One of my all-time favorite McQueen paint jobs. Um, so yeah, I always like when they release things based off of books or other like in-universe material. Um, so he was just really nice to see, as well as the Easter Buggy, who was really rare when he first came out, and I'm just glad that they brought him back. This is like the most unexpected re-release of this year. If I do a 2021 Diecast Award show, I think the Easter Buggy has a pretty high chance of winning Best Re-Release, but just have to see. Holiday Hotshot McQueen, Christmas Cruiser Ramon, both cars I already had. Or no, actually, I did not have Holiday Hotshot McQueen until his 2021 re-release, which I got in November of 2020. Both nice re-releases. Don't really have much to say about them. We see them all the time, but it's good for people who didn't already have them. And another nice thing is, with all the holiday cars they released this year, in the like Wintertime Cruiser series, these two were not released in it. So, yeah, Holiday Hotshot McQueen's already coming back for 2022. I guess these guys are here to stay in the main line. Darren Leadfoot and Todd Marcus and Ruby Easy Oaks there, and I believe Manny Flywheel is right under them on the next row. Look, I have loved Mattel's dedication of re-releasing Cars 1 Piston Cup racers following the release of Cars 3, whereas the Cars 3 veterans and next gens we get every year is pretty much a random selection. They have made an effort to release nearly every single Cars 3 Piston Cup racer following the release of Cars 3, which is absolutely incredible. Like, for me, I've said this 1,000 times now, but when I was little, I didn't really own that many Piston Cup racers, just like Leakless, RPM, and Nitro Wade and Dale Earnhardt. And so, getting these year after year has been so great. Just their dedication to releasing what seems like it'll be all of the Cars 1 Piston Cup racers. with very little repetition. Like, a few of them have been re-released, like Aiken Axler. I believe Claude Scruggs has been released more than once in the past few years, but it's been so great seeing them release nearly the full set, and that's continuing into next year with, um, I think, is it Floyd Mulvihill in a two-pack with the Vinyl Toupee Racer and Cars 1 Murray Clutch Burn and Cars 1 Little Torquey Pistons. By the end of next year, I may very well have a full Cars 1 Piston Cup Racer collection just because of these re-releases alone. And that is just so cool, and it's great for collectors like me who didn't have many Cars 1 Piston Cup Racers. So yeah, picked up Darren and Todd for the first time this year. Ruby I already had, and picked up Manny for the first time this year as well. Already had Aiken. Sheldon Shifter, not much to say. It's Sheldon Shifter. I've basically become desensitized to all the next gen re-releases at this point. I've completely forgotten which one they re-released which year. I think I got all the next gens when they were first revealed, so the next gen re-releases I don't really care much for. M-Fast Fong, really nice release. This year we finally got the last of the next gens, and it was just really nice to see. JD McPillar got a single release, which is nice because he did originally come from that really rare next gen 4-pack with Flipped Over, who will hopefully get a single release next year. And JD became a huge peg warmer. He and HJ Hollis were like some of the worst peg warmers in my area this year, which was really surprising for JD, who was originally released in that next gen 4-pack. I thought more people would want him, but I guess not. Then again, he had been in a few multi-packs afterwards. He got an endurance racer too, but like JD was such a bad peg warmer in my area, which was really interesting. HJ, also a bad peg warmer for me. Not much to say. It's HJ Hollis. I already had him. Will Rush. This guy is like one of my favorite next gens, if not my favorite. I absolutely love the design on this guy. He's so cool. He's easily one of my favorites. And that's all I got to say for Will Rush. One of the highlights of the year for me, definitely. And this is coming from someone who doesn't care as much about racers as many other people do. Tex Dynaco, I actually picked up the 2021 Tex Dynaco. I really like him. Really not much to say, but hey, it's where my classic phrase 2021 one comes from, and I will say I will miss not being able to say 2021 one anymore next year when I review 2022 re-releases. I'll have to say this is the 2022 one, which just doesn't have the same ring to it. Saludos amigos Ramon. Just like with the next gens, we finally got the last Ramon. Clearly, they were waiting for this year. With the Disney Plus Cars series coming out next year, which I'm sure will bring a ton of new diecasts, it was really clever for them to sort of wrap up a lot of things they'd started with Cars 3, giving us the last next gens, giving us the last Ramon, so that now we're ready for all the new releases we'll get from the show next year. Dynaco Cruise, it's guys, what am I supposed to say? It's Dynaco Cruise. Let's move on. Fabulous McQueen. I don't even think I saw Fabulous McQueen in the store this year. So, yeah, moving on. Flo. Nice to see Flo, I guess. Racing. I'm sorry, okay? These are just standard re-releases. Got nothing to say. Racing Start Luigi and Guido. Wow, Guido is hilariously large in this image. This is one I don't have. Racing Start Luigi and Guido. I have the original Luigi with checkered flag. For those of you who don't know, this was made because in Cars 3 on Fireball Beach, Luigi waves a green flag, but in 2017 when we got a Luigi with a flag, it was a checkered flag, which was not accurate. It was nice to see them make this diecast to fix that mistake. It's just a re-release of that Luigi with checkered flag, now made in Thailand and with a different flag color, but it's one I was really surprised to see, and I think it was really nice that they went through the effort to do that. Lightning McQueen with Cone, very nice re-release, I think. I got him a few years back, and apparently people don't like his 2021 re-release because it uses like the same weirdly inaccurate mold as the Tumbleweed McQueen from a few years back, where he's just like oddly different. So yeah, but I don't know. I think McQueen with Cone was a nice re-release. Always nice to see more Cars 1 McQueens re-release nowadays, even though this one apparently had some issues with it. Mater. Ramon. Okay, I actually have something to say about this Ramon. This Ramon was new. Just like they've done for several Ramones over the past few years, um, they decided to update Green Ramone for 2021, and I was really impressed by it. Taking some design cues from the paint job Ramone, which was the, I believe, 2016 release of Ramone with a paint gun, this guy was just a nice update, even though the picture here is of his original release. And that's easily one of my favorite reviews, where I had Cars Keaton come in, and he voiced Green Ramone, the original Green Ramone, who was like jealous of the new one, and we had an argument. That was a really fun review. Lizzie, man, I don't like how they treat the Lizzie diecast, guys. She's released so infrequently, and it's not fair, and Lizzie really should be released more. It was really nice to see her back again this year. Even, like, my dad was at a store with me one time, and he was like, wait, seriously? But, like, when I haven't seen Lizzie for so long, and I was like, yeah, it's weird. I think Lizzie's last release before this year was 2018, and I think that was the case with, like, Ryan Shields and such, that, like, never hit the US. So, yeah, really nice to see Lizzie again. Mildred Bylane, kind of an out of place re release this year. I think she was the only car from, like, the R Town flashback to get released this year. And she's a really nice one. I didn't have her before this year, I didn't have her original release. This version of her is a lot shinier. She's basically like golden. I'm looking at her now. Yeah, really nice car. One that I always forget came out this year, but one that I'm glad did. It's just kind of an out of place release, but I'm happy that she was made. Sarge is normal Sarge. Yeah. Floyd Morgan was a canceled release back in 2019. It's nice to see him back again. This is where we get into a lot of the racing legends. Like I said with the tractors, they were so cool at first, and then they started reusing molds for them, which originally every racing legend had their own mold. Of course, it was inevitable that some of them would be reusing molds. It was just kind of disappointing to start seeing that happening. Um, each one, just like the racing tractors, although I feel like the hype was kind of killed for me with how many of them were made. Just like with the racing tractors, each one is unique and cool in their own way, except Joe Don Jackson. I didn't like this guy. I don't know why. I just don't like how he turned out. It's nothing personal, Joe Don Jackson. For whatever reason, I just didn't like this one. Even though I reviewed him outside on a hammock while on vacation, not a fan of this guy. Ducky Fauntleroy, though, is the complete opposite. This is probably my favorite legend they've done. It's so rare that we get other race cars who are red because McQueen is red. So, because McQueen is red, the majority of other Piston Cup racers are not, so we could identify McQueen better. It's like how, like, none of the next gens are yellow aside from Leakless, so we could identify Cruz better. But there's no McQueen in the flashbacks, so Ducky's allowed to be as red as he wants. And I love this design. It reminds me of, like, an old Coca-Cola bottle, and I think that's just so cool. Caleb Worley's actually one that I don't have, so really nothing I could say about him. Just another trainee. Trainer Cruz. People really do not like Trainer Cruz, guys. I didn't know this. But recently I asked for, like, what people's least favorite diecasts were, so I could do a tier list of them, which I'm still yet to do, and people really don't like Trainer Cruz. She got a lot of votes for Worst New Release of 2020 in my Diecast Awards. Seeing her back in 2021, I guess made some people annoyed. I didn't really care. I thought that a Cruz with a headset was a very necessary variant of her, but people don't like the fact that she doesn't have a new expression, which is completely justified, yeah. But I don't know. I don't feel as strongly against this one as other people seem to. McQueen. So for whatever reason this year they stopped calling Cars 3 McQueen Cars 3 McQueen. Now he's just labeled as McQueen. I covered that in Errors and Inconsistencies a little while ago, and I don't know, I don't really care, but this year I guess they realized that Cars 3 McQueen has become incredibly boring, so they packed him with the Piston Cup, which is nice. I think it would be nicer if they hadn't started using that Piston Cup accessory all the time in the past few years. Heck, if you went to a Target at the same time this McQueen was first released, you could probably still find the Welcome to Radiator Springs series Doc Hudson, who came with the exact same Piston Cup. Another annoying thing with this car is the fact that they labeled him as a new release when he wasn't. Technically, this car was released in 2017, the McQueen with Piston Cup. If it were a new accessory, then yeah, technically he'd be a new release, but it was not. I will say, though, I hope that they use this approach in the future. They won't. We all know they won't. But here they clearly identified, like, look, Cars 3 McQueen has become a boring re-release. Let's change it up a bit. It would be so nice if they did that for Jackson Storm or Danico Cruz or any of these releases that are released time and time again and are such peg warmers. I've suggested time and time again that one year, instead of re-releasing normal Jackson, they should do Piston Cup Champion Jackson instead. No little kid would be able to tell the difference. And for collectors, we'd be happy that, it's actually a new Jackson. And it's different from the normal one. But, like, it would be nice if they packed one of those other regular common re-releases with an accessory like they did here. Um, Moving on, Aiden, Tom W., and Kurt. If you know me, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Rusty's Racing Center trainees, but this year, we finally, for the first time since 2018, did not receive any new ones. I've said this before, now we have more than enough trainees where they could just re-release a few every year if they want to keep re-releasing trainees. I think it's just nice. Because there are more than enough trainees out now, You could just pick a few every year and re-release them instead of making new ones, and yeah. Moving on, Smokey. Normal Smokey was out this year? Did I even see him once? I don't even know if I knew that. Robert Jam Jones! This guy is awesome! This guy rocks, figuratively and literally. Wow, that was a terrible pun, but look, okay? Robert Jam Jones and Sweet Tea's Band were some of the greatest new releases this year. Cancelled back in 2019 with the exception of Sweet Tea. Robert Jam Jones and who else is down here? Pam Wheeldarrow and the guitarist Rich Hurry, who's later on in the list because he was released later on in the year. Incredible releases, easily some of the best of the year. I loved all of this year's pitties. We had no new World Grand Prix or Piston Cup pitties this year, but we got a bunch of new pitties, and they were just like more normal cars, which is really nice. We got Robert, we got Pam, we got Millie, we got Double Clutch Daily. These were just some of the highlights of the year for me. Pile Up, Pushover, Jambalaya Chimichanga, Muddy Racing Center McQueen, Taco, Jimbo, Blind Spot. I did a whole discussion on the Demolition Derby cars and why they really haven't excited me for a long time and how I think it was a mistake releasing them all back in 2017. So yeah, I really don't have anything to say. It was nice to see Taco again. His 2019 re-release was canceled, so it was good to see him back. Kind of annoying to see Jambalaya again after being re-released in 2020 or released from Thailand without rubber tires for the first time. I don't really have an opinion on any of these. Although I will say I picked up the 2021 Blind Spot to make a custom out of it, and I was really impressed. They changed the 2021 Blind Spot, the Thailand Blind Spot, a lot and updated it a lot. It was very different, and honestly, part of me kind of regretted repainting it initially. But yeah, like, really solid re-release for Blind Spot. Like, it was a really nice update. Muddy Rusty's Racing Center McQueen was a disappointing release for me to see. I thought it was so cool when it first came out in 2020. Easily one of my favorite McQueen variants, like new variants. But unfortunately, I don't know. I feel like they killed the hype a little by re-releasing it again so soon, both here and in a multi-pack. Would have been nice if it stayed back in 2020, and if they, waited a few years to re-release it. It does not feel like the type of car you need to re-release, and I hope it doesn't get re-released again in 2022, but I don't think it will, since they're doing normal Rusty's Racing Center McQueen. You know who really needs to be re-released, though? Chester Whipplefilter. It seems like they've been avoiding re-releasing Chester Whipplefilter, and have just been doing Muddy Racing Center McQueen or normal Racing Center McQueen. The same goes for the Mini Racers, who finally did a 3-pack that includes Rusty's Racing Center McQueen instead of their weird, non-existent Cars 3 Muddy McQueen that they would always put in their Demolition Derby packs. But I feel like they're, not releasing Chester Whipplefilter because, maybe parents don't know that it's Lightning McQueen or kids don't know. I don't know. I have a whole discussion on that planned in the future. Um, Andrea and Kathy Copter. Some of the greatest re-releases this year, I think, were the cars from the Lost and Found sequence from the first movie. It was really nice to see them back again. Especially for me, someone who didn't have that many reporter cars before this year and always wanted more. It was nice to see a helicopter again, and it's nice to see that next year we're going to continue to be getting more air vehicles. Um, they really neglect the air vehicles nowadays, with the exception of like the Dynaco helicopter. So it's always nice to see them back. Corey Turbowitz was nice to see back again after so long, but she still doesn't have her mirrors on her diecast, and that is just so annoying. Dash Boardman finally got for the first time this year. I love the fact that he's so small and has this huge camera. He's great. Francesco, Lewis Hamilton, Jeff Gorvette, and Raul, who was actually missing from the original poster, I think. This year gave us, I'm pretty sure, the smallest amount of World Grand Prix racers like we've ever had. We only got about half of them, and it was just interesting to see. Usually they try to give us at least like all the World Grand Prix racers except for one or two, but this year they actually gave us a few less than usual, which really doesn't mean anything, and it really didn't matter. But I don't know, I just thought that was an interesting thing to point out. Mama Bernoulli, Courtney Carspur, there's Max Schnell, but we'll get to him because he, I believe, is considered a second half of the year release, or not, and he's just put after the race fans for some reason. It was great to see World Grand Prix fans again, but I wish they had released some different ones. These are the ones that we always see whenever they release World Grand Prix fans. It's always Mama Bernoulli, Courtney Carspur. Would have been nice to see some more like unique ones. I'm not necessarily saying new releases, but I'm saying like more unique re-releases. We did get Frank Clutchinson in a multi-pack this year, but yeah, would have been nice to see some other ones. By the way, I think this year's multi-packs really improved. Multi-packs have not been good for the past few years, but this year we got some great ones, especially that Cars 1 multi-pack, which is the where like every single car in that Cars 1 multi-pack was not released in another way this year. And with the exception of, I think Dexter Hoover was in another 5-pack, and I think that's great, and I think we should have more multi-packs like that. Um, Instead of doing new releases in multi-packs, it seems that they've changed to doing like one interesting re-release, like Cars 3 Todd Marcus or Frank Clutchinson. While I would still prefer new releases, and actually haven't even picked up like the Frank Clutchinson 5-pack, even though I don't have him. Um, I don't know. I think we're on the right track to fixing the multi-pack problem. Not to mention the NASCAR 5-pack, which actually does include a new release with the NASCAR Cruise. Max Schnell is Max Schnell. Moving on. Chris Rostowski with Yellow Flag is a car that I'm yet to open. Now, by the way, we've officially moved into second half of 2021 releases. This is where the new stuff starts on the poster. I think I said this in my Christmas haul, but, you know, it's nice to get a new flag color for Chris Rostowski every year, but I'm getting kind of sick of it because they never even change her face. At least with Dexter Hoover, they would change his face in the past. Is it a trend I hope they continue? I honestly don't know. All I really want is an updated Chris Rostowski with a checkered flag, because the fact that we still don't have her in this correct mold with the checkered flag is really annoying to me. Chisaki is one of my favorite Cars background characters, honestly, and it was just nice to see her again. I considered picking up her Thailand variant, but I didn't. There was nothing really different with it. Moving on to the next row, Hydraulic Ramon, I feel was one of the most pointless re-releases of this year, but since he was released as part of the Ramones House of Body Art series, and the rest of the cars from that series were finally released this year, I guess I kind of had to re-release him. Hot Rod Steve Hearsell! Woo! The single strangest release of this year. Why does he exist? I don't know, but I've been beating this dead horse ever since day one. Okay? I have, like, I don't know how to feel about this car, and I just find his existence hilarious. You've seen me make a ton of jokes at his expense this year. I did an entire segment where I threw him into a trash can. I did a whole bunch of jokes with him in Cars Adventures. He's just so strange, and I don't get it, but hey, at least he made my Cars Adventures series funnier. Clutch Aid Racing Tractor was probably my least favorite racing tractor when I first saw him, but I've come around. Originally I was upset with how little he looked like Noah Gokek, but that is actually movie accurate. A lot of the racing tractors look quite different from their racer counterparts. Clutch 8 Racing Tractor seems to be their favorite, though. He just got a mini racer of all things, and he had a Disney Store release back in like 2018. Yeah, I was harsh on this guy at first, but I think honestly he's probably one of my favorites in terms of racing tractors. I'm sorry, guys. Now I'm getting a pop up to update my computer. See, this is the cost of just a raw reaction video. I clicked Remind Me Tomorrow, which I've probably been clicking for about 6 months. Mummy costume Luigi and Ghost costume Guido. Highlights, more highlights of the year for me, okay? I love these two guys. They're awesome. They're adorable. They're just normal Luigi and Guido under there, but that's okay. These are great, and I love them so much. They're our first ever Halloween cars, and Mattel, please, please continue to give us Halloween cars in the future. Please continue to give us cars for different holidays, okay? These guys came from a book, but even if you make up your own designs, like, it would be cool to get a 4th of July car next year. Like, they could do the Patriotic Stars that they did the mini of. Or, you know, you could do something for, like, St. Patrick's Day, maybe. Thanksgiving, although, then again, that would only be celebrated in the U.S., but then again, so with the 4th of July. I'm just saying, there's a lot of potential, and I hope they continue to do new holiday releases in the main line next year. Rusty Corn Fuel, another Cars 1 Piston Cup racer. Nothing too special. One of the less interesting ones, in my opinion. Yeah. Moving on, Marlin Clutches McKay. Marlin was released back in 2019. He was not one of the 2019 canceled re-releases. He came out in 2019, early on in the year, pre-Blue Desert, actually. And they re-released him this year, and they're re-releasing him again next year. It sure would be nice if they released a different Piston Cup security car, but nope, we get Marlin again. Nothing against him. He's a really nice model. But there are quite a few Piston Cup security cars out there. Sure would be nice to get one of the deluxe ones again, or Axle Accelerator, who's not Piston Cup security, but he hasn't been released in well over a decade now. Nick Shift and Jim Reverick, our final two next gens. Really, really, really like Nick Shift. One of my favorite next gens. Jim Reverick, not so much. I don't really have very strong opinions on the next gens. But like, Jim, I don't know, I didn't like him as much as I had hoped. And I would much rather have had Will Rush or Nick Shift be the last next gen that we got released, because those two are easily some of my favorites. Doc Hudson. There was something really nice about seeing normal Doc on shelves again this year. Much like with Lizzie, he's barely released nowadays, which makes sense since Doc, is the only Radiator Springs townie to not be in all three movies, Of course, he's passed away following the first movie, so it makes sense that we don't see his release as much. But it's always nice to see him back. Sheriff is Sheriff. Okay, moving on. Jimmy Lugwrench. Here's the thing with Jimmy Lugwrench. Joe Don Jackson was released before Jimmy Lugwrench, and I said earlier I really didn't like Joe Don Jackson all that much. Jimmy Lugwrench I really, really liked, and I actually got him I got him before Joe Don Jackson, even though he was released after. And how much I liked Jimmy made me like Joe Don Jackson less, pretty much. Because I realized, I thought I didn't like Joe Don Jackson because of his mold, but I ended up really liking Jimmy, despite the fact that they're the same mold. So, yeah, I guess I just don't like Joe Don Jackson. Clovis Ryder, when I first saw him, I was like, oh great, it's Randy Lawson again. And then I got him, and now he's one of my favorite ones, okay? This is why you don't judge a book by its cover. Clovis Ryder is one of my favorite legends now. Sterling is Sterling. I did buy a 2021 Sterling. As you guys know, I have several Sterlings that I repainted into my Redline Agents for my Redline fan film back in 2018. And I picked up another Sterling this year, just in case, so that I had a spare one to use for any future Redline-related things. Exactly the same as the 2018 Thailand Sterlings I bought several years ago. Nothing to say. Although it was really nice to see him without his headset back. Sterling is one of those releases where I just question why he's released as frequently as he is. Antonio Veloce Excelente, the picture they used for him is really funny, and I don't know why. It just looks like he has no eyebrows, and his eyes are just floating in the white void that is him. Antonio was released in 2019, much like Marlon. I don't know why he was back again this year. Now, I know they can't release Ferrari F430, but they could have released the other car that's with Antonio, Constanza della Corsa. That would have been nice, but now, just Antonio again. Dewey Conrad, for whatever reason, I don't know why he's here and not with the other legends, but whatever. This guy's metallic. This is the rare case of a car who's metallic, who is not labeled as a special metallic release, and he's a really nice one, I think. I think he's definitely another standout legend. Moving on to Millie. I love Millie. Millie's another favorite release of mine, one I was waiting for so long. I don't know why I like this blank white Pity so much. She's really nothing special, and that's what I think I really like about it. It's just a blank white Pity. She has her little floor cleaner and a little cone, which I don't think we even needed the cone, but it was nice that they included the cone. And her face is just, it's perfect. Perfect expression. Rich Hurry, another incredibly solid Sweet Teas band release, like I said earlier. Derek Williams and Sarah Wilson were unfortunately our only two new releases from the first Cars movie this year, but they really made it count. These two are easily standouts. They're highlights of the year. They are some of the best releases of this year, and it just proves that there are still an absolute ton of characters to make from the other Cars movies. These guys were awesome. Raul, there he is. There he is. They forgot him on the first half of the year poster, despite the fact that he came out in the first wave of 2021. Sorry, Raul. But it's good to see that they put you somewhere. And finally, Ron Hover, another reporter car, so he should be over here, but whatever. Just like with Kathy Copter, nice to see more air vehicles, but he's getting re-released again for 2022, and I don't know why, but whatever. Moving on, those were all the singles, and now we move on to the Racing Red series. When I first saw the Racing Reds, I rolled my eyes. I was like, oh great, we're just doing another generic metallic series, but this was a lot more than that. It's assumed by fans that this was made to commemorate the 15th anniversary of Cars, and I really like it. I like it more than the Scavenger Hunt series, I think. I think I like it more than the Silver Collection from 2020. I really like these. All 6 of them. Unfortunately, I don't own all 6 of them. Mater is super expensive now. He was barely released in any stores. I never even saw him in mine, so unfortunately I don't have him. I don't have Cruz, but I do have Jackson, Sally, Lightning, and Francesco. Yet to open Lightning. I will be doing that in the video later on today, though. And these guys are so cool. They went above and beyond, making their artwork different, and changing every other color on them to be either silver or black, to make them really stand out. It's more than just metallic red version of insert character here. They really went above and beyond for these. Golden McQueen was one of the most interesting releases this year. He showed up in stores early on in the year, and we didn't know how he'd be released in America. It was known that one car this year would be a mail away. People assumed it was going to be him, but when he started showing up in other parts of the world, people assumed he'd be released normally in America. Everyone kind of gave up on him, or at least I personally did, until September, when the promotion was finally run for, I believe, Lightning McQueen Day on September 5th. And people were finally able to pick him up, myself included. Obviously, meant to sort of be an anniversary release. Unfortunately, he's not a Cars 1 McQueen, but the McQueen they chose, which is Rusty's McQueen from the beginning of Cars 3, I don't know, something about it just looks really nice in gold, and the fact that it isn't like the normal Cars 1 or Cars 3 McQueen, that they went with this other paint job that, yeah, is released all the time, but still, like, I don't know. I think that's nice. I think that, like, the fact that it's not your stock standard McQueen that they decided to make gold makes it stand out more. And then we get into 2-packs. Now, I was pretty positive towards most of the singles, I think, but this year's 2-packs were just, I'm just going to say it, guys, they were bad, okay, in my opinion. There was only one new release out of any of the 2-packs, which was Double Clutch Daily. And all the cars released in 2-packs this year have been released in some other way in the last 4 or 5 years. Several of them were released in previous 2-packs. I had a whole video planned over the summer that I ended up scrapping, where I was going to go over all of my problems with this year's 2-packs, because there were a lot of them. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the problems I had with 2021, such as the 2-packs, is already being remedied with the 2022 cars. So that's why I canceled my whole big Good, the Bad, and the Hot Rod Steve Hearsell video. Because I think they're already fixing a lot of things. The 2-packs we know of for next year are already so much better. But this year we had Mater and Cars 2 McQueen, which is nice, a bit different than what we usually get. Dusty and Rusty, Eric Lanley, Alex Carville, Hit and Run, just the most generic 2-packs you could have gotten. Sally and Cruising McQueen, wrong mold Sally, but Lightning did have his bumper stickers, which was nice. Jackson and Laura Spinwell. The fact that when this came out, you could still buy the Ray Reverham and Laura Spinwell 2-pack made this 2-pack completely pointless. Bobby Swift and Brick was a bit different than the usual 2-packs they do. They used to have a 2-pack of Cal and Brick that they released several times. Just realized Cal Weathers was not out this year. Double Clutch Daily and Dirt Track Doc. Unfortunately, Double Clutch, although a very nice release, was the only new release in the 2-pack this year. Ryan, Inside Laney, and Eric Breaker. These two are some of the most pointlessly re-released next-gens. They are always out. They are almost exclusively out in 2-packs. This was a pointless 2-pack. Case closed. Speedy Comet and Parker Braced in a re-release of last year's 2-pack, which accidentally used Manny Flywheel's artwork, and included Parker Braxton. This year, things got far worse at the beginning of the year, when they just straight up replaced Parker with Manny, a character from the other movie, and still labeled him as Parker Braxton, despite the fact that Manny was out as a single at the time, and that release was completely accurate. And then in July, they actually finally fixed the 2-pack. Now, with the correct Speedy Comet and Parker Braxton, both labeled with the right names, with their correct artwork, including a new piece of artwork for Parker. If you want to learn more, check out Errors and Inconsistencies 10, where I go more in depth on that. Heyday Jr. and Leroy Hemming, not a bad 2-pack, I think. Although, once again, it continues my big problem with this year's 2-packs, that so many cars in them were in previous 2-packs from the past few years. Heyday Jr. was in a 2-pack a few years back, and Leroy was not, but, I guess it was nice to see Leroy again. Okuni and Shigeko, very generic 2-pack. I actually didn't have Okuni, so I did pick this one up. But once again, very, very generic 2-pack. Clutch Aid Racing Tractor and Rusty's Cruise, in my opinion, not a good 2-pack, because the Clutch Aid Racing Tractor was a new release that was out as a single this year. You could have just included a new racing tractor. Now, I know that's counterproductive, considering what I said earlier about how I didn't like how many new racing tractors there were, but this is just a pointless 2-pack. Heck, they should have just re-released the 2-pack with the Paul Conrav tractor and Rusty's Cruise from 2019 instead of doing this one, because the Bumper Save tractor got a single release this year, so, I don't know. Pointless 2-pack, I think. Sweet Tea and Guido. This one's still a ripoff. This could be a single. This should be a single. Why is this a 2-pack? Moving on. Deluxes this year. The Deluxes, I feel, have been struggling since the Thailand switchover. Next year, the Deluxes are looking pretty solid. This year, they were alright, but they could have been better. Leroy Traffic with Snow Tires got his long-awaited re-release that's been rumored for several years now, and they finally updated him to be the right color. Red is using the wrong image, as per usual, but he's just red. Mac, RV, Dr. Damage, Miss Fritter's down there. Here's the thing. We've been getting fewer deluxes than ever for the past few years, ever since the Thailand switchover. And, the thing is, so many of the deluxe slots every year, of which there are fewer than ever now, are taken up by the cars that we always have to have. Red, Mac, which is fine, but do we really need Miss Fritter, Dr. Damage, and RV? If we just got Miss Fritter, or if we didn't get any of the three of them, we could have gotten two other deluxes that were interesting re-releases. We could have gotten, new deluxes, but whatever. I did a whole discussion on this in my Demolition Derby video. I just feel like One of the deluxe waves this year was like Red, Mac, Leroy Traffic, Miss Fritter, RV, and Dr. Damage. It's like Miss Fritter, RV, and Dr. Damage is half of the case. Like, I don't know. Next year's deluxes, like I said, are looking better. We know Miss Fritter's getting re-released, but it doesn't seem like the other Demolition Derby cars are. I guess we'll just have to see. Kingpin Nobunaga was a really good re-release, but they didn't release Pinion Tanaka, the other sumo wrestler. This is like the Dinoco Showgirl release in 2016 all over again, where they released Dinoco Showgirl #1. Like, you release this guy, you basically have an obligation to release the other one. But for whatever reason, you didn't, and I don't know why. Why didn't you do that? Why'd you release one guy and not the other? And even more annoying for me is I've had Kingpin Nobunaga since 2011, but I've been missing Pinion Tanaka. I don't have him. If only they released him instead, man, that would have been perfect for me, but nope. Team 95 and 51 Mater, a car that seems like it was going to be in the fan favorite series, now became one of the most pointless deluxes of 2021. It's a perfectly fine car. I actually bought it off of eBay so that I could use it in my Ties Cars 4 movie. But, and I'd never buy new releases off of the internet. I always try to find them in stores since they're cheaper in stores. Unfortunately, though, this year not many stores were carrying deluxes. Hopefully that changes in the future. So the only two deluxes for 2021 I bought, which were 95 and 51 Mater and Xavier Rodalt here, were both cars that I ordered online. They were the only new releases I got online this year. Anyway, Team 95 51 Mater did not need to be a deluxe, especially when the 95 Hat Mater was a single back in, was that 2019? But this Mater is actually quite a bit different. He's a bit of a different mold. He's raised up like a lot of the older Maters are, which is nice. It makes him a lot more animated. His mouth is a lot wider. It's a good-looking Mater. It just did not need to be a deluxe, and also it didn't appear in Cars 3. And I'm sick of these Maters with hats not being in the movie. Just like the Mater with 95 hat. Where, yeah, we see the hat, but he puts it on the little fake Mater he makes. So, I don't know, that's just annoying. We could have gotten any number of Maters with hats that we saw in Cars 3. Mattel, where is the stadium hat? The Disney Store did it back in 2018. Just make the stadium hat. Thank you. Miss Fritter, moving on. Xavier Rodalt was very interesting, and a car I'm very conflicted on because I was very disappointed with what they chose to do with him. For the first time ever, we got a Cars 3 hauler cab without the hauler. Now, this is something they've been doing for the Cars 1 cars for several years now, but unfortunately, Xavier here's the first one, and the first one for Cars 3, that is, and with the way he's painted, it just makes me want to see what the rest of him looks like. He's got like this cool fade design from light blue to dark blue, and unfortunately, he does not have a hauler. Usually, I don't get annoyed with that sort of thing, but like, I don't know, I'm just used to the Cars 3 haulers being full haulers, so it was disappointing to see that with Xavier. But what was also disappointing was the fact that he was from Cars 3. Xavier is a really nice looking hauler cab. He might be my favorite hauler cab I own, honestly, but he should have been from Cars 1. He really should have been. There was no need for him to be a Cars 3 Spearmint cab. When we're so used to having the Cars 1 hauler cabs, it would have been so nice. He was a very out-of-place release, too. Heck, the only other Spearmint car we got this year was Nick Shift, who's the next-gen Spearmint, so his hauler cab does not look like this. It is not Xavier. So, yeah. Strange release. Really nice one, but one I got kind of mixed feelings on. Mater with cone teeth. I guess it was nice. I guess it was nice to see him again. Mater with cone teeth was canceled time and time again, so to see him released for 2 consecutive years was a miracle. But, like, he didn't need a re-release. This is a car where I feel like the re-release is completely pointless. Same with Josh Coolant here. The only Cars 2 Deluxe, which the packaging labeled as from Cars 3, because of course they messed that up. And these two were really nice new Deluxes for 2020, but neither of them needed a re-release in 2021. And finally, Rotor Turbowski, the Dinoco helicopter. Really not all I want to say. I still don't have this version of Rotor, actually. He's the deluxe version, the larger version. I just have the smaller original. But it's Rotor Turbowski. I really don't have all that much to say with him. Anyway, though, guys, there you have it. This is my reflection on the 2021 Cars Diecast line, not counting the non-mainline stuff. Like I said earlier, the non-mainline stuff was really nice, I think, with the NASCAR series. Haulers, there were no new haulers this year, but they did re-release some of the older Cars 3 ones and give them names, which was nice. There was Marty Hauler, though. He exists, but I always forget he does. And people got surprisingly upset when I said I didn't really care about him. But there you go, guys. Thank you all so much for watching this nearly hour-long reflection on the Cars released this year. Hopefully this doesn't kill my laptop storage and I can get this out before the new year. What did you guys think about the 2021 Cars line? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is a My Thoughts video, but I would love to know your thoughts. I'll see you guys next time, and Happy New Year. Bye now.